True happiness, a concept we all claim to understand. But do we really? It's strange that in a world filled with opportunities for joy, so many of us are still searching for it. We put on this mask, this persona, because the world expects us to. Society tells us that success looks like constant smiles and endless excitement. But what if the pursuit of happiness itself is misleading? Think about it. Philosophers throughout history have debated what happiness really is. For the ancient Greeks, happiness wasn't just a fleeting feeling. It was eudaimonia, flourishing, living in accordance with reason, virtue, and purpose. It wasn't about having a good time or feeling good all the time. Happiness, to them, was tied to the meaning of life. But fast forward to today, and we're bombarded with images of what happiness should look like. Luxury vacations, promotions, perfect relationships. The mask becomes necessary in a world that celebrates appearance over substance. Take existentialism, for example. Thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre would argue that happiness is at its core a human construct. We give meaning to happiness the same way we give meaning to everything else in life, because life itself has no inherent meaning. So when we chase happiness, what are we really chasing? Maybe we're trying to fill that void of meaning with fleeting emotions, hoping to distract ourselves from the deeper questions we don't want to face. But let's explore another angle, authenticity. Soren Kierkegaard talked about the self and how we often fall into despair by trying to be something we're not. Wearing the mask of happiness to fit in, to be accepted by society, can actually lead to a deep sense of alienation from our true selves. So the question becomes, are we truly happy, or are we just playing the role expected of us? And what is the cost for wearing that mask for so long? Psychologists often point to something called toxic positivity, the idea that we're expected to be happy all the time, no matter what we're going through. We minimize negative emotions, push them aside, and tell ourselves and each other that everything will be fine. But in doing so, we deny a fundamental truth. Life is complex, and so are we. We need sadness, frustration, and even anger to fully appreciate what it means to be alive. After all, without the darkness, how can we really understand the light? In Buddhist philosophy, there's this notion of dukkha, which is often translated as suffering, but more accurately refers to the unsatisfactory nature of life. The Buddha taught that suffering is an inevitable part of existence. The more we try to cling to happiness, the more we suffer. The key is not to chase happiness, but to find peace in accepting life as it is, impermanent, full of both joy and sorrow. Let's consider stoicism, a school of thought that suggests happiness comes not from external circumstances, but from how we perceive and respond to them. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor philosopher, wrote about controlling our emotions and actions rather than trying to control what happens to us. So when we talk about happiness, is it something that happens to us or something we choose to cultivate from within? Now, what does that mean for us? Maybe the mask of happiness is not just a societal pressure, but also a coping mechanism. It allows us to function in a world that's often chaotic and overwhelming. But there's a cost to that mask, a distance from our authentic selves, and sometimes even a distance from others. It can isolate us because, behind the smiles, there's a fear that no one will understand or accept who we really are. But what if we embrace that complexity instead of running from it? What if we allowed ourselves to feel all the emotions that come with being human, both the joy and sorrow, the triumphs and the failures? That's where true happiness might lie, not in the mask, but in the balance of all our experiences. In a way, the mask we wear protects us, but they also limit us. The mask of happiness can keep you safe from judgment, but can also keep you from deeper connections with yourself and others. The truth is, you can't experience real happiness without embracing the full spectrum of your emotions. And here's the paradox. The more we chase happiness, the more elusive it becomes. Because happiness, in its true form, isn't something to be found, it's something to be lived. In the messy, complicated moments of everyday life, the mask might protect us, but it can't fulfill us.